Hi, this is Dr. Ariel Policano, naturopathic doctor, and I want to talk to you today about a very exciting tool for personal investigation, personal discovery, and for transformation. And first, before we get there, I want to introduce you to the person who's really one of the main forces bringing it to us, and that's Garnet Dupuis. And we're going to be having a dialogue today about this new technology, and I think you're really going to enjoy it, going to get a lot out of it, and then really feel activated maybe to try this technology for yourself. So I want to introduce Garnet. He is a lifelong teacher and practitioner of wellness and holistic healthcare. He's extremely humble, but actually he's really brilliant visionary. And we're going to hear about one of his new visions and what it could hold in store for you and the benefits for you. Garnet, are you there?
I am here, although I'm not sure if I can come out of the shadows after brilliant visionary. Thank you for that.
No, it's so true.
Yeah.
Listen, tell us a little bit about your background so we can understand where you've come from and how that really brings you into this current iteration of your vision to help people to heal, to get well, and to transform.
Well, okay. It's always interesting to try to synopsize your own life. Right now, I'm sitting up in my home in northern Thailand. Live in the mountain rainforest. I'm looking out at something really quite spectacular. My whole life, I think, probably has led up to this. It's a maturation and evolution. My interest has always been, I would think, fundamentally in spiritual experience, a spiritual lifestyle, and how having a body and a mind fits into that. And consequently, I've gone through a lot of different phases and stages, like many of us. I'm a little bit older, and I came into the situation when wellness was really evolving and exploding as a broad area of cultural interest. So, I have my trainings in a variety of things, an awful lot in massage therapy and body work. I've also considered an expert in the spa industry. I co-founded the first day spa in LA in the late 80s, and I have a spa currently with my wife, a beautiful spa here in Bangkok in Thailand. I live in the north. And there's homeopathy and oriental medicine, and part of that also was early biofeedback and an interest in what that promise was, which actually never really came to fruition in the 70s. Biofeedback was going to change everything. But then as technology evolved and computers came into the scene, and then personal computers, and then from desktops to laptops, and now laptops to smartphones and tablets, it really reinvigorated my interest in how to bring together these technologies with these concepts and the needs that we have. And that's why I got more involved in creating, some of the programs and devices that some people are aware of over the past, 10, 15, 18 years or so.
Wow.
Now it's brand new. I've co-founded a new company called Possibility Wave. I have a couple of excellent partners. I'm the creative and technical design person, meaning that, I make these things up and somebody else does the coding. I don't know how to code, but I do know how to design. And
fantastic.
It's an interest in creating things that are real. I have a very strong belief or appreciation that, I don't know what you want to call it. I would say that there's a karmic responsibility when you get involved with helping people. When people are in need and they're vulnerable, how you respond to their vulnerability and their need is really a sensitive ethical or karmic issue. And I, having had my own needs and those that are dear to me and the people that I've known over time as clients and friends, I really want whatever I do to represent my best effort in being ethical and professional. I don't want to fool people. I don't want to trick people. And these days with technology and computers, you can make just about anything you want happen on the screen. And it can be very convincing because of graphics and all sorts of buttons, and it looks fantastic. What actually in reality is in the design and how these apparent results appear on the screen, to me is a critically important area to just to make sure
Yes.
that we're doing the best we can to be
Yeah.
honest and real. So this emotional insight app is an example of an application designed directly for personal use, although it can be interpreted by professionals in their own context. But I wanted something that was a reflection of an observation that I had, because I did a
Sure.
lot of the advanced biofeedback sessions as a practitioner over the years with a number of devices, some of whom I created myself or with partners. And what I noticed was that most of the program designs are focused an awful lot on physical, somatic, even energetic concerns, but that there was always a very strong psycho-emotional component in the process, although it was running kind of a parallel to the main session. And over the years, I really felt that we had an opportunity to do something important in that domain, but that we just didn't have yet the program designs and the depth of understanding to deal with these subtle areas. So instead, it was the repeated thing of what bacteria or what organs or what chakras or all the different things that have evolved through in these forms of advanced biofeedback.
Well, I totally
This was
agree. I totally agree with you, Garnet. And I just wanted to interject. That happens a lot in naturopathic medicine too. And I know a lot of people here will resonate with people who will be drawn to this are healers themselves or people who want to investigate themselves. And I just wanted to say I can wholeheartedly agree with you that a lot of people will either consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously hide from their emotions. Uh, and then they look for every other thing, the parasite, the Lyme disease, the nutritional deficiency, the heavy metals. But what I've found out is that the emotional healing seems to have this really amazing effect on all of those other things, that they don't seem to be somehow affecting the person in the same way after they have some type of emotional healing. Do you agree with that?
I'm a, oh, well, anybody that's ever had any amount of practice in naturopathy or generally speaking holistic healthcare knows this clearly and firmly,
Mm.
that if you're not attentive to the psycho-emotional dynamics of this person's experience, there's always going to be a piece of the puzzle that's missing. Whether you put it first, second, or third in line of priority is partly circumstantial and partly a practice style.
Well,
But
actually,
I think
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, please.
Because you hit the nail on the head with regard to, and for people who maybe heard Garnet a little bit, he mentioned really what we're introducing today, which is the emotional insight app, and that's really what all the excitement is about. And because I love where you were going with this, which it occurred to me is that people don't do emotional exploration sometimes because there's shame in sharing it with another person, or because they don't know how to tap into that piece for them. And so what I think is so interesting is that this app gives a person a personal opportunity to be able to tap into that energy. And I think that we did lose Garnet a little bit on the line here. So I just want to talk to you while we're getting him back on the line about my personal experience of working with the program.
By the way, I can hear you fine. Do you still have
Oh,
me?
okay, yeah. It says you're offline for some reason, Garnet. So,
Yeah, I'm up in the mountains, and the signal sometimes through the cell tower is weak. So
Okay, I can
and
call you on Skype if we need to have an emergency
yeah,
intervention
no,
or
but we're
something. Okay.
no, I'm just telling you that technically, I don't see the screen right now. I think
Okay.
because maybe power went out in the village is what happened. I'm very high. I'm, believe me,
But
where
I
I
can look
live,
at the screen
it's
for
being
you. But I think that
okay.
what I really love about what you've brought forth here is sort of like a respect for people, their privacy, sometimes their inability to share this information with other people, and the ability to sort of go within in a revelatory way within themselves, but still have a guide, something that's prompting them to show them, hey, this is the piece that you really need to get in touch with. Do you think that the Emotional Insight app helps with that?
Well, yes, yes, and yes again. The, the, I think I agree. There are multiple reasons for a choice like this. One is probably a profound one, I would say, profound to me, is that I really do believe that we have our own answers. We all need help in different ways to confirm that, to help us get there. But I really do believe that each person is their own best expert. Now, it doesn't mean that we're always clear-minded, because we're not.
Right,
But
right, of
the,
course.
the, the byline of the app is, be true to yourself. And I think, what I wanted this app to be something like a mirror to the heart
Hmm.
with a guide, a guide that you trust. And uh, because, to go to a person, of course in the West it's quite common to have psychologists or therapists or counselors. So, enough of us are willing to do that, but it's still the minority. It's still the minority. And when it comes down to, let's face it, being honest, we're honest by degrees. We all lie. We lie to each other. We lie to ourselves. So I thought, let's try something that is personal, direct, and that you don't have to have another person. Even
Hmm.
just the other day, I sat with somebody and we did it together.
Hmm.
She hadn't done it before, and she said, "Oh," and I said, "Okay, let's do that." And um, halfway through the session, as it kept on unfolding, she said to me, I lied. I said, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, the one that I really wanted to choose, because it was in relation to an issue with her mother, which is not uncommon." She said,
Yeah.
it's contempt, but I was embarrassed to say contempt because I didn't know what you'd think of me."
Wow.
And yeah, uh, you know, it's it's not easy when it's hard. That's one of the things I've come to appreciate. It
It's
sounds
not easy
stupid.
when it's hard.
So right, but we oftentimes believe that, because we're either smart or spiritual or I don't know what, that even when we have hard times, we should be able to get through it easily.
Hmm.
And my experience is no, it's not easy when it's hard. So I tried to create in the Emotional Insight app a kind of a style and also three different ways of going through the process so that a person could feel safe and begin to have explorations and discoveries that lead to real practical, real world action strategies, and then also even have help in the insight reinforcements, the sound therapies. I thought,
Yeah.
this would be a really good thing. And the truth is that, because I kind of matured through the evolution of it, um, it is okay. If you want to use the app successfully, there are two prerequisites.
Okay.
One is be open-minded.
Okay.
You're all by yourself, so it's like looking in the mirror to see how fat your belly is, but you're all by yourself, so nobody's right, right, and even then it's hard to look at. But be open-minded,
Sure.
and the other is be sincere.
Okay.
If if a person enters into any one of the three processes in emotional insight, open-minded and sincere, I can risk saying, I guarantee
Right.
I guarantee that important experiences will happen, and that you will end up having the ability from your own experience, your own mind, your own heart, to actually not only more deeply understand the dynamics of certain current issues that are troublesome, but actually be able to create for yourself a very reasonable, effective action strategy so that you know how to begin to change attitudes and behaviors that probably have eluded you for a very long time. You know, Ariel, I can't tell you, how many times this is when I was working with in a more complex way in developing it, but using certain, biofeedback tools that I had at my disposal, and beginning to recognize how I could merge these classical psychological techniques with advanced biofeedback technology and in brain entrainments and voice analysis and all of it. Anyway, I would sit with a person, and at a certain point they would say, one of the sentences or something, and I would look at them and say, is there any amount of truth in what you just said? And they would look at me, and this is like many times why I'm recounting it. They'd look at me with this kind of these eyes, pause, and say, this is the story of my life.
Mm.
And, what fortified that even more, and this is not a personal claim for me, it's a process, I think, that has benefit. But I had, as clients coming to me for the biofeedback sessions, people that weren't coming because of physical issues, although there's that group. But I had professional mental health care practitioners coming. I had clinical psychologists. I even had psychiatrists coming to me for sessions for themselves.
Wow.
Using these processes, and they would say to me, 1 or 2 or 3 sessions with you doing this gives me more benefit than a year or 2 of my conventional therapy.
Wow. Wow.
So, what do you do when you're privileged with being a part of discovering something that has those kinds of responses? And I felt that this is worthwhile. I can proceed forward with this, use my name, because as you're right, I'm a shy guy. I'm not, I like being a teacher. I'm very happy to speak to 10,000 people, but I need the structure. Other than that, I go hide here up in the rainforest. That's just me. But the feeling was that I could sort of, come out into the light with integrity,
Mm-hmm.
with something like this. And I mean, that's the whole premise of Possibility Wave, is that is any apps that we create, they must have that. I just value the integrity that I think is required when you help people in need. I don't
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I find it to be the same, just really that it's very, very revealing and very powerful in its ability to, I mean, I'm really one that I love tools that help to bring out awareness that's otherwise hidden. And I think that this is an amazing tool to do this on an emotional level and with a depth. And that's really what I really want to ask you about, because I think people wonder when they use this sort of what's behind the curtain. And I know we can't talk about all of that, but I do have some specific questions. For example, when you say information coded biofeedback, that's something that sort of catches people's ear. When we talk about this as a form of informational coded biofeedback, does this imply that the psychological pieces and ability to interpret this information is actually woven into the coding of the program?
The short answer is yes, and this is a subject that, yeah, it's a big one. So
Yeah.
we'll sort of tickle it a little bit,
Okay.
but also my best effort to be honest.
Sure.
I had as an example, I've created, which is available online, a 10-hour long teaching on signal encoding theory and biofeedback. It's a fully narrated PowerPoint, and it's from beginning to end. It's all in segments, but it's 10 hours. And I just felt like it had never, ever been talked about openly. So if you really want to go further, I mean quite a lot further, into the concept of information coding signals, there's 10 hours right there for free. Go there. But,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so to
great. That's
come
very
back to,
generous that you put that on there if people want to dive into that, though. That's really
well,
cool.
well, it's a full training. It's a full course that you would take over the course of a few months, if you were in some kind of school setting. Anyway, okay, to your question. Here's a principle, and the principle is called pattern redundancy. What that means is that any single snapshot of a complex activity is never going to give you a clear understanding of that activity, because it's a moment in time. And in these processes, when you have information coded biofeedback, you end up being able to work with a lot of information. You watch the behavior in terms of patterns. And when the patterns begin to repeat themselves, the more that the patterns repeat themselves, the more significant that information becomes. Because, any one thing can happen at any one time. But when it happens again and again and again and again and again and again, then it starts to become important.
So is the coding specifically, and I'm sorry to jump in there, but that is totally fascinating what you just said. And you're probably going to answer this, but I just have to know, is this program actually specifically programmed to look for these patterns in a person's voice and in how they interact with the program?
Yeah, I can tell you the technical design in the program is it's complex. And because, it is easy to make this stuff simple. It's what I call, using magic numbers, and you have a very straight 1 equals 2 kind of design principle, so that you can have all sorts of things come up as what I'll call answers. And it's really, I don't know, I'll be honest, to me it's dangerous. I don't like it, because it gives the appearance of certainty where certainty does not exist.
Mm.
And, even it's the principle possible, probable, and certain. And, even like in this Emotional Insight app, you'll see when findings come up that I use the term clue. Because the process unfolds as everything in life unfolds. There is nothing certain until it actualizes.
Mm-hmm.
And, in these processes, what you can get is, if you design it properly and you keep filtering for patterns and keep filtering for patterns, you're never satisfied with a simple 1 equals 2. What's the weather like where you are? Well, you can tell me what it's like in this very moment, but tell me again and tell me again and tell me again. Over the period of time, I can start to get an understanding of what the weather is really like there, because a pattern emerges.
Of course. I bet you could tell a lot by studying somebody's patterns. I bet you could almost predict a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, yes. And so what's I won't say it's hidden, because it's not supposed to be a secret, but what you don't see, what's invisible in the processing, is that the design and the efforts and the attitude is such that in the end, the person themselves will bring the probabilities into certainties.
That's amazing.
That life is continually a creative process. I don't believe in fated circumstances. I don't believe in hard destinies. I believe in tendencies. I believe in habits. I believe in those things. Whether you can say the weather today is more or less probably going to be like this, because you know the patterns.
Absolutely.
But you don't know until the very moment what it is. And that, to me, is the hallmark of a sort of an enlightened appreciation of living.
Yes.
And so this is inherent in the design principles of the app,
Okay.
is that it keeps working uh, with numerous layers. I mean, there's program redundancy, but there's also process redundancy. For example, the way that the eye field assessment is overlapping with the voice analysis and is overlapping with the personal choices of the user. The no one source is considered absolutely authoritative. They all come together where the endpoint, the decision, for example, when the user comes up with an action strategy, what I'm going to do about this, that comes out of a combination of streams of experience, streams of information. They come together. Like if you look in the mirror to comb your hair or whatever, you can do things with the mirror and your hair that you couldn't do with your hair without the mirror. But it's still you deciding what to do with your hair. And that's what this app does and this is, I think, the thing I'm most, well, there are a few things about the app that I guess I can say I'm proud of because I find that they're reliable, is that it never pushes an answer on the user. It
Mm-hmm.
lets the user access what we could call whatever, their intuition. It's what I say. If there are three things right now, if I say to you jealousy, depression, and greed, jealousy, depression, and greed, I'm just making this up, which one of those feels special to you?
Right.
Tell me, which one
Ugh, that
right
would get
now?
into a whole unfolding, but
No, 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 just do it. Jealousy, depression, greed, which one feels special?
um, they all don't
Go,
really
yeah,
well, they all don't really resonate for
well,
me personally at this
one
moment.
will, one will.
But
Which
Garnet,
one? Tell me.
I don't necessarily want to go
Come
down
on.
this.
No, no, play
uh,
the game. Come on. We're not going to take it further. I just want you to help them understand.
yeah,
Which one feels special of the three?
I'm not totally resonating with any of them right now at this moment.
Oh,
But
forget the resonating thing. Which one jumps out at you? Which one is flashing? Which one? Jealousy, depression, greed. Which one?
okay, I have to
Okay, I
pick
can tell you.
one.
For me,
Or
yes, go ahead.
okay, I want to make sure we go through the process in the three-step process in.
Okay, listen. I'll say depression.
Okay.
Okay, so you won't say anything. I'll say it. Now, it doesn't matter why I said it. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter at all. It's just that in that moment, it felt special.
Mhm.
I don't know why. It's not good, bad, or ugly. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
That the app is designed to constantly give the user the opportunity to recognize something that they previously hadn't recognized.
Of
But
course.
then
Of
when
course.
they recognize it, the feeling is, oh my God, you're right, that's true, da 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 da, like that. So,
Yeah.
one part is all the fancy technical, secret programming, which is kind of complicated, I'll admit, when you design it out of, with the algorithms and so on.
Mhm.
But the other is the belief in the trust
Yeah, sure.
that given the opportunity that every person is able to make a choice. Every person is
Sure.
able to recognize
Sure.
something. If you go into the department store, why is the green blouse attractive to you? Why is it special? I don't know, but it is.
And I think that people do have a faith when they begin to use this that it works. But I think they also want to reach for, they'll never maybe get to that 10-hour level, but they want some of the dialogue
Sure.
that we're talking about really does help them to, in a way, it becomes more transparent and they feel that they can access that there is a technology woven in here that they have some type of a grasp towards that isn't just a
Sure.
magic
Sure.
box sort of talking
Mm-hmm.
to them that I think people are really curious, and it does help them to engage and even be a part of this type of a work. So
Let's go for it. Ask
yeah,
me.
I mean, to that end, there are three processes in the beginning. Now, the first one is where they just say what the issue is that they want to improve, and they actually will
Yes.
record this with their voice. So there's something
Yes.
about the voice that's being collected. The sound of the voice is being analyzed. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, and there are two things. One thing I want to point out to you, you said, to just say their issue. This is one of the most important aspects of the app, believe it or not, is being able to express what I call your current issue, your problem, your challenge, your stuff, in a short, clear sentence. Because most of the time, a person will begin with just a kind of a generalized sense of, I really feel weird or off, or I don't know. It's okay, that's fine, but tell me in a short, clear sentence, what's the issue? What is it? And that process in and of itself, aside from all sorts of fancy biofeedback stuff, is the beginning of opening the door. So I don't want to diminish what that is, because the truth is, when a person gets really sort of, they've learned because of using the app a lot, you can just, what is my current issue? And you can jump, boom, right to creating the action strategy. It's a learned skill. So the current issue is number one, and defining it, being able to speak it, and then write it as a short, clear sentence is a therapeutic process in and of itself.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
And you have them both. You have them both speak it and write it. So there's there's a therapeutic aspect. Is it a release aspect, or to writing it, or recognition? Sorry.
Multiple answers to that question, because there are multiple dynamics or factors. One is, yes, when you speak, the voice analysis or voice scan, if you want to call it, process in the program is active. We do look at monitoring specific frequencies in terms of significance and how those frequencies or tones in the voice behave when you speak. Because you know full well, you've practiced healthcare with people in your life, that it's amazing, depending on the topic that they're speaking on, how their voice changes.
Right.
So, yes. So when a person speaks the issue, the voice scan is busy harvesting and analyzing, and that's part of the overall process where we go for what I call the pattern redundancy, that we keep on looking and watch and see what is emerging as having a probable significance. Because not only is it found in that process, but the finding is occurring again and is occurring again.
Yeah.
I mean, the more times that a person scratches the right side of their head when they're sitting with you, the more attention you get. It's like, God damn, they scratched their head like 9 times. Right?
Yeah,
and that's
totally.
Because you recognize a pattern. It's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on? And then you ask them because the pattern, not the single episode, but the pattern points to something. Okay, the writing serves a number of purposes. One is super practical, that every session has a collection of information that's stored in the session overview, so that when you're finished, or 2 days later, or 2 months later, you want to go back and say, what were those emotions again? What was it that I said? What was my action strategy? It's all there. So by logging it, you have a record. When I was doing it professionally for people, I would write down their stuff. So I'd be able to look at it as a helper and reflect back to them. So it provides a practical record. That's one thing. That's good. But you're right, because you're already onto it. The act of writing is different than the act of speaking. For long periods of time, humankind didn't have writing. But being able to create a secondary symbology to what you spoke, which is already secondary to what you think, which is already secondary to what you feel, what it does is the feeling, the thinking, the speaking, and the writing creates a multi-dimensional imprint, so that more and more and more clarity comes into their awareness from the experience. So it's a layering. Feeling, thinking, speaking, writing
Yes.
is a principle where when you
Yes.
work with people, whether it's journaling or whatever, taking it into a third-party symbology, which is writing, meaning a third person, other than the person speaking or the person listening, a third party can come along and see that. So what it does is it lets them be more of an observer of their own experience. They're allowed to step away a little bit as a witness to their experience and not be totally embedded in their experience. Speaking is incredibly intimate because it's only in the moment.
Mm.
But writing is something that you can go back to. Of
Huh.
course, now we can record voices, so the analogy is weak, but you can go back to
Yeah,
what you wrote.
sure. Yeah, no, I totally
And
agree with you.
right? So you read it like a third person. So, without making it sound awesome,
Right,
there
right.
are so many understandings that are integrated into the design principle of what I can tell you, it would have been much, much, much easier and faster to program something just 1 equals 2, and then you go for it. But every effort was to make this as rich and multidimensional as possible, but at the same time come off as something pretty simple to use.
Of course, of course.
Okay.
So what happens is you state the issue you want to transform, work on, process, you speak it,
Mm-hmm.
you write it. Now, is this the
Mm-hmm.
time when the I field reads sort of is that the I field? Is that the next step there?
Yeah, the design is such that 3 things overlap here.
Okay.
One is the conscious decision making of the user. They think the thing, they say it, they write it. The second thing is the voice scanning, the voice analysis, has the ability to harvest information off of the voice. And then, because you'll see the screen right after, you'll see an indication that the I field assessment is busy processing. So what it does then, because of kind of pulling back the curtains, it's a fine time for the I field assessment to make its first exploration through a very complex and large matrix of potential emotional states. And so what you've got is, and then actually you'll note that certain brain entrainment tones are playing
Yes. During that
as
time.
well. Right. So that what you've got is you've got the subjective creative involvement of the user in identifying, speaking, and writing their current issue. At the same time, we bring in the voice analysis to begin to identify areas of significance as harvested from the voice patterns.
Is
And
that what's
we
happening with the
do,
I field? Because from the the user's perspective, and I know a lot of people who are listening to this will experience this and chuckle, you feel as if that I field is checking in with
yeah,
you in real time,
yeah,
like sort of scanning you and reading you. But that's not
yeah,
what's happening.
it is.
It
It
is.
is. It is. It's real time, and any time depending on which process or which stage, that the I field does what it does, it's doing it in that moment, immediately, which is
Wow.
why the brain entrainment tones are really helpful. When I was doing it in a very complicated way over the years past, I'd call it playing the piano, where I would move in and out of selecting different brainwave entrainment patterns, because I could see how the person was trending or inclined at that moment. If they needed to calm down, if they needed to go back more into their memory, or think it at a higher level. So I would call what I call play the piano. Here, what I've done is I chose the brain entrainment patterns that I feel from my experience to be most conducive to that particular stage of the process. So what it's doing is it's coaxing the person's mind towards a set of behaviors or attitudes that are going to be most fertile for them to continue in the process and keep going. So that you've got the activities of the person themselves, call it their intuition, call it their clarity. You've got the voice analysis, you have the eye field assessment, and you have the brainwave entrainments. And these things will move in and out as single, double, or multiple processes, because I'm, as I said in the very beginning, totally convinced from experience that the best information is derived from pattern analysis, and that including the expertise of the user, call it intuition, call it what you want, is kind of the secret sauce. The missing appreciation is that don't create a process that excludes the user,
Mm-hmm.
because the user is the most complex entity in the whole process and is always the absolute authority. You can get advice, you can get guidance, but when it comes right down to it, you'll know for yourself. That's why I say, be true to yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
what this is
Mm-hmm.
aiming for, because it's a confidence builder. Because you all know, we try our best, but we're not always correct. So we need some help with that.
Yes.
That's what this is.
That's fantastic. And so what happens? So then the eye field sort of reads in present time, gets some information, and then what happens next?
Well, next, the information, okay, in the process, the eye field assessment works at monitoring extremely complex, chaotic, or seemingly random behaviors, but it's only random because you can't predict. What happens is if you keep on filtering and running and double algorithming and doing all sorts of things, you start to see trends pushing in a certain direction. And not just because they bleeped one time, but that repeatedly there's a certain direction that's emerging.
Mm.
And then what comes up, so I show three, and I say, these three show an increased probability of significance. I don't know why they're significant. I'm not going to inject meaning for you, the user, right? But you look at these, so I'll do things like, okay, take these three things. Now, make a sentence beginning with the word I, which is another one of my secret sauces. Begin the sentence with I. Begin with I, and create a sentence incorporating these three things.
Mm-hmm.
And, why a person would create the sentence it's up to them.
I've noticed that that's one of the parts for me that requires some of the deepest introspection in the programs. I have to really stop for a moment and, okay, how am I going to phrase that sentence? And I love that use of the word I. There seems to be something about maybe accountability or responsibility or turning it into yourself, not putting it on other people, that seems to be very significant.
Yeah. There is no poetry sweeter than the sound of one's own name. and the pronoun I replaces that. And yeah, it is a trigger. It's a psychological trigger. You perk right up when you start to say something that begins with the word I. And the other is, what I would say to you if I was sat with you as a helper doing this kind of thing, I'd say, Ariel, don't think about it. Just drop into your heart and start to let air come out of your mouth with vocal cords working. Just say, I, and just let it tumble out.
I mean, that's a really good, I love that technique, and I'm definitely going to, share that with people, and people listening today can use that. But and maybe it's later in the program, especially when it asks for the action statement, or I think it's the consider how this relates to your current issue. That seems to, I go, whoa, how does it relate? And that seems to require some, I love that idea of both intuition, not maybe over-analyzing it, but also I think there is a bit of personal processing that's going on there.
Oh, yeah. What I say, because we're all different. Some of us are more intellectual, analytical. Some are more emotive. Some are just more kinesthetic. They could dance the answer faster than they could speak it.
Right.
It's imagine that you're, I don't know, in a swimming pool, and you're holding down with your foot a piece of wood, not especially large, and you just take your foot off of it, and you watch it come floating up to the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. What I'll call answers or responses or choices, if you let them just come into the moment. I mean, the water thing is coming up from the bottom, but there's no direction. It's there. Wow, it's just there. And when a person uses the app more and more, what they'll find is that there's actually, aside from all the other benefits, which are wonderful, there's actually a skill set that's developing. You're actually learning to do important things for yourself that you don't need the device. You're learning something.
Yes, that's great.
So that the Emotional Insight app is something that's always there, and because the way it's structured, it works. But a user will find that they actually are learning something about how to recognize an issue, how to explore it, how to identify positive action strategies for it. Wow, I'm actually learning, because the app, the principles of the app are not from some bizarre, faraway alien world. The app is designed to be the way it is because of the way we humans experience emotions and process our experience. It's
right.
It's a reflection of the way we are. It's not something that we're not.
Yeah, that's great.
So it should feel pretty, I don't know, like natural as you begin to. I mean, at first it seems weird because it's maybe you're using a tablet and I don't know. Some voice is talking to you. It's a little bit like a sci-fi movie or whatever it is. But after a while, the feeling is this is pretty natural stuff.
Right.
This is pretty natural stuff.
So again, this gets into proprietary, perhaps, information. But again, when the three words come up, your issue is most resonant with these three words. Where do those words come from?
There are large sets or matrices of encoded emotional states that are in the software, and that interfaces with the I field assessment.
Okay.
And it's like, believe me, a lot is done, and what emerges is not an answer, but an indication that there is a high level of significant probability.
Yes.
That one of these or all of these have some kind of significance to you.
Now
it doesn't. It's not an. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, just on that. So I love the idea. This really explained to me a lot in our conversation about the pattern recognition. And is some of that resulting in the words coming from the words that are actually spoken, the emotional tones, and other information that's being derived in that interaction with the program?
It's got nothing to do with whatever you write down. Like if you write down guilty, that's not the reason why guilty shows up.
Wow.
No, nothing at all.
So what is the reason?
Well, the reason is that in the behaviors at an information level, these are popping up. You know, that they're popping up. What I used to say.
But what is the information? The information level is the voice. The information level is that's the secret sauce.
Sometimes it's derived from the voice analysis, and knowing that the behaviors of certain frequencies have an association, and I say association, not directly cause and effect. That's silly stuff. But that there's a very reasonable finding that certain frequencies are associated with certain emotional states. So it's presented to you as a finding, but described as a clue. You know,
Sure.
if it says depressed, like you said, you couldn't resonate with any of those. You know, that's because of the pressure of the game right now. That it's an indication not of an endpoint finding. Oh, I'm a depressed, greed, jealous person. No, it says consider this.
Sure.
Work this into an exploration, and let's see where it takes you. Let's see where this
Absolutely.
goes. Let's see where this goes. And you know, the understanding in this, I'll just say 2 sentences about this. If anybody pays attention to what's going on in advanced science these days, what the new term is approximate knowledge. That's as close as we can get to anything. Is an approximate knowledge of it. That's why, you know, the economy is, you know, there's a percentage of growth. You know, if you listen to the weather, the chances of rain are. These days, science has evolved around to the point where, you know, an absolute certainty beforehand just doesn't happen. You can get really pretty damn close, but keep on working with the creative determination of experience as it unfolds. Follow the clues, follow the breadcrumbs.
Absolutely. And so, and again, when somebody hears the 3 words, they're the one making the determination which word resonates the most or connects more or
That's
is
right.
of interest to them.
That's
So
right. And
there's that
also,
again. Yeah.
yeah, it's there. But also, you'd notice that when, like, because we're talking about, there are 3 processes. They're not all exactly the same. But when it comes up with 3, and we'll say the program says, now speak each one of them with a pause in between. Obviously, the voice analysis, the voice analysis is doing its thing. So we're looking at what your voice is telling us, but we're also relying on what you do. You
Yes.
choose when you
Yes.
choose one of the 3. That's why, you know, I'll go to the end of this believing that pattern formation, pattern recognition is really one of the most important things, because, like, blood pressure, I mean,
That
let's
makes so
not get
much
so
sense.
fancy. I mean, if you take your blood pressure at any one point in time, it's not going to
Absolutely.
be the same. Why?
Right.
Because you just found out bad news. You just came running up the stairway. I don't know. You took a sleeping pill last night. You know, what you get is, I mean, that's the fallacy of going in for a medical checkup where,
I
you know,
totally
somebody
agree
at the
with you.
hallway takes your blood pressure, and then based on that, they give you a medication.
It's sort of ridiculous in a
Right.
way. Now, the pattern recognition piece is one of the biggest pieces that, for me personally, that I'm taking away, and hopefully other people will soon. That seems absolutely brilliant, and it really makes a lot of sense. This seems like one of the most wise parts that you've been able to imbue into the program. When the person speaks the thing that they recognize that particular word, then they get something even more amazing back. It's like, well, your particular issue appears to be related to, and then there's like a phrase or something, or a couple of words. And
Yeah.
my experience of
Yeah.
that is always like, wow, like it's
Yeah.
astounding how spot on it
Well,
is.
well, you know, that's the evolution of the exploration with the way it's designed, so that, you know, essentially one thing leads to another, and it builds so that at a certain point it starts to form, I don't know, the word is dangerous, but it starts to form a story.
Hmm.
It starts to, like, make sense. You start to, basically, it's like, as a kid, I loved those connect the dot books, you know, especially the ones where you didn't know what it was until you connected all of them.
Hmm.
And this process is like that. You start off with, you know, a tangible, expressing your current issue in a short, clear sentence. And then every step after that, even whether you choose the spontaneous insight for the conscious exploration, creative imagery for the subconscious, or secrets and lies for the unconscious, every one of those builds so that you're essentially kind of connecting dots, and the dots will appear on the page as you go along. That's the discovery process. And then at the end, when you connect enough of the dots, it's a butterfly. You you didn't see what the image was until enough of the dots got connected.
Well, I think that's
And
amazing because your coding is actually the dot connector, and that really is the amazing part about this program is it is able to connect those dots in a way that maybe this person was not able to before, this facilitative interactive process. And then you see that piece, which is, to me, really revealing in a way that I think that maybe a therapist isn't going to be able to figure that out with that person for 6 months or longer. And then this person has the comfort and the privacy of being able to say, take this personal responsibility and say, wow, that really is the issue.
hmm I can tell you, and I don't know, the words aren't all that pretty, but there have been a number of times, and again recently, meaning in the past a number of months, revisiting this and the designs and the programming, and of course, using, doing. And I would sit, in the privacy of my own self, I would think and sometimes say, this is freaky. This shit really works.
Mm-hmm.
is what is the
Right. I
feeling that would
totally
come.
agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with
And
you.
and being ostensibly the creator or designer of it, having that come as like that third person witness, being able to witness it from the distance of being just a user who could enter into it with an open mind and with sincerity. That's why I feel confident in putting this out there, because in my own little world, the world called me, this is not only helpful and accurate, but it really supplies me with an insight into my emotions that I can say I didn't have without using this.
I totally
So,
agree. I totally agree.
that's okay. So I can live with that. I can even be proud of that. As it's my best shot, and this is what it is at this point. And right now, the only thing I can hope is that enough people will have the chance to use it that they can get some benefit from it.
Absolutely. Um, I want to spend some more time in a part two, maybe talking about the three different processes of
Yeah.
spontaneous insight, creative imagery, and secrets and lies. But maybe we should just at least sort of wind up our conversation, maybe just talking about the insight reinforcements and the
Yeah.
difference, what they are, and sort of the difference between the crystalline strategy and the sonic signatures.
Sure. They're called, okay, I guess categorically you could say that they're sound therapies, that you hear them and they help you. What I call them is insight reinforcements. The program is called emotional insight, and you end up having different insight experiences, and critically, you end up with an action strategy. An action strategy is when you work with certain attitudes and behaviors, and that's supposed to help you with the current issue.
Yes.
The insight reinforcements are exactly that. They're reinforcements. Enough of you have experience with the Bach flowers. I'll talk about that first because the sonic signatures are complex signals encoded from the classic Bach flower remedies. So certain remedies, again, and that's part of the pattern recognition and the assessment process. At the end of a process, whichever of the three, you'll always end up with sonic signatures that have been created specifically in relation to the processes that you went through. So the findings and the actions are integrated. That's part of the pattern redundancy to say, these three remedies will really be great reinforcements to your action strategy. So in the same way that you would take remedies as drops under the tongue or something a few times a day as you go about, because they're not magic by themselves. The Bach flower consultant or the naturopath would give you some advice and, try this behavior, that behavior, and use these drops in the meanwhile as reinforcements or supports to that process. So the sonic signatures are like taking the Bach flower drops in the ear instead of the mouth. You don't need to use the liquids. You can use the signals. And the advice is, for some short time, 5-10 minutes at a time if you like, try to use them a few times during the day. The signals are all designed so that, of course, headphones or earbuds are attractive, but I actually designed them so that you could play them over like a room speaker. If you're in a room or in your office or your bedroom or something, you could just have it kind of like audio incense in the room. That's okay. So the sonic signatures are derived directly from the dynamics from the session. So they're recommendations, and you can just listen to them.
Fantastic. They sound great. They're very pleasurable to listen to.
Well, that was part of it. You can create signal encoding and end up with stuff that sounds like fingernails on a chalkboard. And I've experienced those, and they may be effective, but I have a hard time using them because they're just so, I'm averse to them. But so I did my best to design signals with frequencies and particular characteristics that had all of the complexity that was required in the encoding, but also ended up being attractive enough to listen to.
Absolutely.
That's the sonic signatures. The crystalline strategy is really interesting to me. It takes your action strategy sentence, the one you wrote down, and completely transforms it through an encoding process into particular frequency tones and brain entrainment rhythms.
Oh, I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so what you get is you get a non-intellectual delivery of the sentence that you wrote. And all you have to do is just listen to it over and over again. And it has a direct signal-symbol association with the action strategy sentence that you wrote, which was the one that you spoke. And, of course, when you spoke it, the voice analysis was also paying some attention there. So what you get is you get the final representation as an integration of the action strategy, but you're able to use it as a reinforcement, an insight reinforcement, so that you can listen to it several times a day, for a few minutes or longer. My suggestion is don't think, doing it for an hour one time is going to be some kind of magic. Reinforcements of whatever it is, taking, a low potency homeopathic or Bach flowers or, drinking water. Get up in the morning, you can't drink 4 liters at one time, but you might drink 4 liters throughout the day. That's a lot of water, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting. Yeah.
There's processed dosage in any sort of remedy or any sort of stimulation.
Yes.
And they work if you use them. is either the good or the bad news, right?
Well, what I think is wonderful is you can come back to these; they get saved, and so if you want to do a session maybe once, and then for the next 3 days or 5 days, you can continue to play these reinforcements. And do you recommend that people sort of switch on and off between the crystalline strategy and the sonic signatures?
No, it's personal choice. They're both effective, a different principle, but both aiming as a reinforcement to the action strategy. So,
Excellent.
I did different audio or sonic designs, as you can see. They don't sound the same. They sound different. Partly it's personal choice.
Sure.
It doesn't much matter. And yes, the app is designed so that you can, if you did a session yesterday, you just go into the user records, find your name, click, you'll see a list of whatever sessions you have done. You choose the one that you want, you open it up, and it takes you right to the session overview. You can see the whole session again. Oh, yeah, and you read your action strategy again, and you look at how you got there. But that's also where you access your sound therapies, your insight reinforcements. So, yeah, I would say, they're there. They're waiting for you. And, in naturopathy, I don't know what you use exactly, but, I'll go back again to the concept of a low mid-potency homeopathic or a flower
Absolutely.
remedy. Typically, you take it some few times a day over a period of time, a week to a month, give or take. And then there's a reassessment, and maybe the remedy is altered or the combination has changed a bit. And, I don't think it's good to like just pound it out and do a whole bunch all at one time,
Right.
and then not do a damn thing for 3 weeks. Thinking, oh, what's happening here?
Like Weekend Warrior. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the app, well, it's personal. It's designed to be in your pocket or your purse anytime you want it. And the idea is, you're absolutely right, to get the insight reinforcements. You can just refer back to that session anytime, and there they are, and you can use them as you like.
Fantastic. Garnet, this session has been incredibly informative, and I believe that this information will help people to engage with the Emotional Insight app in a much more conscious and active and effective way.
That's great. I so much respect where you're coming from, all the experience you have, and the connections that you have. And in that way, I mean, you're more than a bridge, because I don't know, you're a friend and a partner in the process. But for you to have better insight means other people can too. And everybody has language. I've got my language. You've got yours. Sometimes it's the same. Sometimes it's different.
Sure.
But once you get a few important ideas, it makes such a huge difference.
Yes.
If the idea, to use your word, resonates with a particular belief system that you have, or a stage you are in your life, or something, all of a sudden, it just feels better that you've got a couple of ideas that work.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I know that this Emotional Insight has so much potential, and I'm really excited to have our conversations continue as we get more people engaged in the process, and really see this flourish and help people in a very, very meaningful and much needed way.
There's nothing there that I can disagree with, that's for sure. Yes, and I'm very happy to do it again. Right now it's morning, the sun is streaming into the valley and through the bamboo and the big banana leaves and the 9,000 other kinds of trees and plants that I don't know. And I've got some animals out there that are waiting for me to come and get their second visit and some more food. So I'm going to go take care of that.
All right, Garnet, you have a wonderful day. Everyone, go to emotionalinsightapp.com. Check out the app. Give it a try. You will be extremely impressed and amazed. And for those of you who joined to find out more because you're using the app, I hope you got a lot out of our session today, and we'll certainly be back with more. Thanks again, Garnet.
It's my pleasure, Ariel. Thank you for doing this.